Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I only have an hour. I'm going to try and cover a lot of information in the hour that I have, so try to stick with me. And if I go too fast and you have questions, I promise I will answer questions at the end, but I may be cut short because there are other presentations here and I'm only given so much time. Therefore, at my booth inside at the Veg Kids booth, once I get packed up from here, I will be happy to answer more questions and share more information. I usually do this presentation, and when I do this presentation, I usually do it for an hour and a half, plus then maybe a half an hour of questions and answers. We're doing everything in 1 hour, so I'm going to move kind of rapidissimo. Okay? First of all, for those who do not know me, I'm Andy Mars. I'm a PhD in education. I've raised Veg Kids. I've been running Veg Kids programs for many years. I'm a vegan for 32 years myself. I've been running the only totally vegan camp programs for kids in the United States for well over 20 years. There's a lot of information I can share with you about myself. I've been on the board of trustees of the American Vegan Society for 28 years. I was one of the founding members of PCRM, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. I was one of the founding members of EarthSave, founded right up here in Northern California by John Robbins. I've been around the block a few times, okay? And you can tell my energy is suffering on my vegan diet, right? Okay. I'm used to working with kids. I work with kids and I give lectures and various individual programs and all sorts of things with kids. I work with parents. I work with teachers. Thursday night, by the way, just to give you the last few days why I'm running on no sleep and I'm so tired, right? Okay. Thursday night I had a parent education program at LAPD, Los Angeles Police Department. I run their monthly parent education series and I did a parent ed topic. There, the topic on Thursday night for this month was testing, the pros and cons, and that's a whole separate issue. Then I drove up, I got home from that about 10 o'clock, went to sleep for about 2 hours, got up and left 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning, drove up to San Jose where I did a teacher training at a school in San Jose. I did a parent training right after that, starting at 7 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Then I worked my way up to Berkeley, got up to Berkeley, visited one of my old students who happens to be a freshman at Berkeley. He's living in the vegan dorm, the vegan co-op in Berkeley. And we went out, we went to 4 different vegan restaurants to make sure I got my fill there. Please come on in, Liam and everybody, okay? So anyway, that's part of the background of where the last few days have been, and now I've just been enjoying myself here at Veg Fest, delighted to be here at the World Veg Fest 15th anniversary here, and please, front row seats, you get to pay less, okay? There you go. That's just a little background. Now I'm going to rush into the presentation. I've got loads of props here on this table. I don't need to travel back to LA with these props. I will share them at the end of the presentation. Specifically, kids who let parents listen, and kids who listen well themselves as well, will be rewarded with goodies. There's not bribery, it's called rewarding. It's not bribery, really. Okay, anyway, so I'm going to continue reminding you to turn off your cell phone, turn it on stun, whatever the case might be. Just a picture of some great Veg Kids at a program. This was actually last Veterans Day with some of our veterans. We do a program every Veterans Day in Los Angeles up at the Presidential Library. You may even know some of the kids there. I'm not so sure. Yes, you do. Anyway, I'm moving along. This is where I like to start for this presentation because the question is, who is my audience? How I approach a topic on raising Veg Kids really could vary based on who I'm talking to. Am I talking to parents? Raise your hand if you're a parent. Am I talking to educators? Raise your hand if you're a teacher. And you're allowed to raise your hand more than once. Okay? Miscellaneous interested adults. You're not a parent, you're not a teacher, you're just an adult who wants to learn. Awesome. Children, raise your hand if you're a child. Don't make me guess. Awesome. Okay, and we're all children of different ages, from 0 to 3,000. Anyway, so it helps me to see who my audience is, and there's no way I'm going to target a presentation like this optimally to every single one of you, and that's why I want to be able to answer questions at the end, whether it be here or at the booth inside. You know, by the way, my PhD in education, my doctoral work is in learning differences. My whole philosophy of education is that every child has learning differences because every child learns differently, and every child should be taught differently. So here I am doing a lecture, which really contradicts the point of the way I believe in educating one-on-one, but I will optimize it as best I can for all of you here. Okay? And by the way, my dissertational work is non-medicinal work, alternatives to dealing with ADHD, and I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of kids, gotten them to change their diets, change their sleep habits, change their physical activity routines, get rid of medications, and get rid of any problems with being able to focus and function successfully. But, moving right along. Ages, I'm not asking anybody's ages, I'm just scanning the room, and I promise not to guess too harshly. Question is vegan. Who here is vegan? Awesome, congratulations. Who here is vegetarian? Very proud of you. And by the way, if you raise your hand for vegan, then you are still vegetarian, so your hand could actually stay up. Because vegan is a subset of being vegetarian. Okay? Who's considering going veg? Okay, awesome. Who's fighting going veg? Somebody dragged you here to this conference kicking and screaming. You can admit it, it's okay. Who's not considering going veg and you don't even know what you're doing here, you just came into a slightly air-conditioned room on a nice, beautiful, hot day outside? Okay, helps me to know who I'm talking to. I'm going to do the best I can with this. One more reminder, if you just came in, cell phones on stun. There's different reasons people go veg, whether we be kids or whether we be adults. There's different reasons, and I've synopsized it into 4 key categories. There's ethics. Some of us do it for morality. The fact that we do not want to cause harm to any living creature. That is the reason that led me to go veg 32 years ago. Okay? I just didn't want to be responsible for dead animals. And I'll give you a little more background. When I was about 4 years old, my dad took me to Rutgers University. He had a friend who was a professor there, and he took me into this laboratory, and my dad's talking to his friend, and I'm 4 years old, reaching up and opening all the cages and letting the animals free. Okay, so I began at an early age, but I didn't go veg quite at that point. Anyway, ethics is one reason. Environment. Anybody who cares about the environment should care about being veg because it is less impact upon the planet. And this is not a session on learning about all of these things, but I'm just giving you a little background here. Health. Some people are veg because it's the healthier thing to do, no question about it. It's better for every single one of us. Some people do it for religious reasons. Maybe we're Seventh-day Adventists. Maybe we're Buddhists. Maybe, we're truly following, whether it be Judaism or Christianity, to the true teachings of the Torah, that in the earliest of days, in the Garden of Eden, we were all vegan. And when the Mashiach comes, in the end of days, we'll all be vegan. So why not elevate ourselves to more of an ethical consciousness on every day in between? Anyway, there's a lot of reasons. These are just some reasons. But I'm going to move on. Why or how some kids go veg? Let's think about this. Kids, think about this for yourselves. Parents, think about this as well. Some people are raised veg since birth. Anybody in this room raised veg since birth? That is awesome. I wish I could say that about myself. You're steps ahead of me. I love it. This is not a competition. Raised veg after prior being raised non-veg, meaning you were born, your parents started raising you non-veg, and then they made a choice and change along the way. That's great. Maybe you're a kid who made an individual choice. You were the first in your family to go veg, and I know a lot of kids who've gone vegetarian or vegan themselves, but their families aren't, but then maybe their family follows. Anybody in the room? Okay? And some people make individual choices, and despite the fact that nobody in the family is following, they keep doing it on their own. That was me, and there's a lot of kids, by the way, in my Veg Kids organization, which is a nonprofit organization based in Los Angeles. We're all about raising a more conscious generation of kids, and we have all sorts of opportunities to connect veg kids with each other so they don't feel so alone in the world and all of that. But anyway, a lot of our kids, our most active kids, and the kids who at least want to be the most active, are the ones who've made this decision on their own, and their families aren't even along for the ride. Eventually, I find moms seem to then join the ride later on, and dads are the ones who we have to drag along a little more kicking and screaming because they're macho he-men, right? Us men, we need our meat, right? I eat a lot of meat. It comes from nuts and things like that, Meat is not a bad word. Flesh I consider a bad word. Meat could be nut meat, could be, from mushrooms, it could be from eggplant, wonderful meats. Okay. I'm going to be using a lot of quotes right now. I think one of the best ways I can talk about raising veg kids is let's talk to some kids themselves. And unfortunately, because most of these kids live in Southern California, they're not here to talk to you right now, but I've got quotes from them, and some of you may know some of them. I sent out a questionnaire. This was a couple of years ago, so some of these kids you'll notice are older now, some of them you know. I sent out a questionnaire to kids asking them questions, and these are excerpts from some of their answers that I think are very telling. The question was, being a veg kid, is it easy or is it hard? The first answer, Dan is now, or at the time of the survey, is 20 years old. What did he say? I've been vegan since I was born and it's easy, so don't know any different. That's all he knows, so it's not a big deal. Alexis, at 13 years old, said, some of my friends do not care, while some think I'm living an impossible life. And that's why it's important to have a presentation like this, to have an organization like Veg Kids, so it doesn't seem so possible, and kids like Alexis don't feel so alone, and that's why Veg Kids is very important to her. Colin, at age 11, we got a couple of excerpts from him here, and some of you know him. The hardest part of being vegan is looking at all the delicious-looking non-vegan desserts in the bakery or market. Although they can all be made vegan, most places you go, they're not vegan. So it's the temptation of seeing things that look really good, and it's a conflict because maybe ethically you don't want to eat it, but taste bud says, I want that. And I have a picture in a slideshow that'll go back on at the Veg Kids booth after this presentation, where there's a picture of Colin in the vegan bakery in LA when he came to visit. And AJ, you were there. Tell us about the vegan bakery.
It's really delicious and there's so much stuff.
100% vegan bakery. And I know you have places up here in this area as well. Colin also said at 11 years old, you can veganize everything, so don't feel like you're missing out. So on one hand, he's saying he looks at things and he misses it. On another thing, he realizes anything can be made vegan. Noah, at age 9, it can be hard not being able to eat everything my friends are eating. And we're going to talk about that. And Solomon at 4.5, and you're going to notice a few great quotes from Solomon. It's easy. By eating vegan stuff. It's just as simple as that, Tim. Being vegan is easy by eating vegan stuff. There are a few seats here if you want. You're welcome to stay there if you prefer. Next question was, being a veg kid, how do you feel? Hero. Hero is a hero. He's H-I-R-O, but he's a hero H-E-R-O. Okay, hero is short for Hirotaka. It's a long Japanese name. Hero, by the way, I will tell you, at his school, I'm going to use him as an example, and I don't talk about kids behind their backs without their permission. I want you to know that. So I would never use any sort of presentation unless I had your permission. But Hero has no problem with me talking about him. Hero is like the coolest thing since sliced bread in his school. Everybody thinks he's the ultimate of coolness. He's in high school, and he's 15 going on 16 years old right now. And at lunch, he pulls out a cooler at lunch. Every kid's bringing in their junky food or buying the junky food. He pulls out a little cooler with a handle, and out of the cooler he pulls out a little Hulk Hogan portable battery-operated blender, and he pulls out, because he can't have a knife in his high school, it's very concerning, this is LA, and so he's already sliced and diced his fruit into little pieces, into little Tupperware containers, and he pulls it out and he starts making smoothies at lunchtime, and everybody comes swarming around and wanting samples, and then he pulls out little sample cups. He's like, oh yeah, you can sample it, I made extra, no problem, okay? And he just makes it the coolest thing, and everybody wants to be him. So what does Hero say? Remember, Hero is a Southern California surf skater bum, okay? He's not a bum really, but I feel awesome being vegan. I'm in top shape with my body, mind, and soul all at one together. This is a kid, by the way, who, when there's nothing to do and he's hanging out with his friends, he'll just sit down, get down on the ground and start doing push-ups, okay? He really treats his body, as he calls it, like his temple, okay? Anyway, Alexis again, being vegan, I no longer feel guilty about contributing to animal cruelty. I feel energized and overall just great. Mark at 11, it's the right thing to do. So how can I not feel good? Pretty obvious, right? Danny at 11 says, I feel at peace. Next question. Being a veg kid, how do you handle it? And there's different struggles and trials and tribulations we're going to talk about very shortly. Ashley at 13 says, not everyone cares about animals. But knowing facts about health and the environment helps others stop and think. And that's one of my key messages that I want to teach parents and kids and other interested adults alike, is always be armed with ammunition. And I don't mean ammunition, I mean ammunition. Ammunition of the mind. Be armed with knowledge. Be armed with facts about how it's better for our health, how it's better for the planet, how it's better for the animals. Be knowledgeable, and then when somebody asks you a question, you can answer it, and not in a pushy, obnoxious way, in a simple, informational way. And that's what Ashley's learned, is that if she has all the information, there's seats up front here if you'd like. If you're armed with information, then you can answer questions. And also, I believe, by the way, it's a really good thing to do some things like role-playing, okay? Where, you give some kid an opportunity. Ask them a question, see that they're prepared with an answer, and give them the chance to practice the answers, because there's certain questions many of us adults, especially some of us who've been around the block a few times, we know we get the same questions again and again. If we're ready with answers, makes it a lot easier. Alexis at 13 says, be prepared for when people will ask you questions, which is really the same thing that Ashley's saying. Stephen at 11 says, get educated, read ingredients, and do what you know is right. We all know being vegan is the right thing to do, whether you come at it from a health standpoint, an ethical standpoint, environmental standpoint. It is the right thing to do in every possible way. Let's know the information, let's know why, and let's stand by our values, stand by our truths. And the reality is, the more we practice it, the easier it becomes. It's just like kids in here. Hopefully every one of you, at least at certain ages, can tie your shoes. But once upon a time, many of us could not tie our shoelaces. We had to practice it and practice it and practice it until, whoops. Until it became second nature. And so we want it to become second nature, that we're just doing the right things. Where was I? Noah at 9 says, if someone offers me food that's not vegan, I'll just say, I'm vegan, and explain why. And Solomon again, 4.5. Some adults try telling me what's not true, but I teach them about being vegan. If a 4.5-year-old can do it, right? Being a veg kid dealing with parents. Now this is especially targeted towards kids because, like I said, I know a lot of kids who've gone veg or vegan and their parents aren't. So let's talk about how they handle this. And if they can handle it without the support of parents, imagine how we can do it with the support of parents, right? Tyler at 11 says, my parents try to get me to stop being vegan, but as long as I'm healthy, how can they how can they complain? Right? And that's really the bottom line, as long as you're healthy. And be a walking, healthy example of veganism, adults, kids alike. I'll be honest, not mentioning any names and nobody in this room, but there's people I know who are not good walking poster children of being vegan. Some of them look unhealthy. Whether it be some of them are like these really, junk food vegans, and they're just getting no nourishment and nutrients into their bodies, and they suffer because of it, and they're not good walking poster children of being vegan. Or some people I know, as an example, I'm not against a raw foods diet, but some people I know, particularly in LA, there's certain raw foodists who look like they've walked out of concentration camps, okay? Because they're not getting enough nutrients, not because they're not eating right foods, but they're not getting enough calories of those foods because you need enough calories of nutrients to sustain yourself. So it could end on either end of the spectrum. But the thing is, you know what? You want to help the world? Help yourself by being healthy. Danny says, no matter how hard my parents, and his parents tried way hard, try to force me to stop my vegan commitment, they just can't. He's a kid, by the way, I have his permission to talk about it. He makes his own foods. He takes care of himself. Okay? Once upon a time, and I will say this, I shouldn't say this, but nobody of you know who I'm talking about. I don't have any last names up here. I'm not bad-mouthing him. But he's told me this story, and I was not there, and I'm going to retell it. He would like me to retell it. His mom used to, in his early days, try to force his mouth open and try to take a fork and force meat into his mouth. And he would tell me he was clenching the armrests of the chair in the kitchen and keeping his mouth clenched. And then as soon as finally she would walk away and get frustrated with him and go to the other side of the kitchen, his words that he has shared with me is, he said, well, if you're going to try to make me eat dead animals, then I'll become your dead animal because I'll have nothing to eat. Okay? He's pretty strong-minded in what he does. And for his, I believe it was for his 9th birthday, what he wanted for his birthday, think about what you want for your 9th birthday, many of you, or did want for your 9th birthday. He wanted a rice cooker. And he told his mom, you can buy me, a Lego, you can buy me a Transformer, I love those things. He said, if my friends get them for me, I'll play with them. But if you get it for me, it's going to sit in the box and it's never going to be open and you're going to have wasted your money because all I want from you is a rice cooker. So now he, makes his own dinner with rice and steaming vegetables and everything pretty much every night. For his 10th birthday, what did he want? A blender. A blender. 11th birthday was the dehydrator. His 12th birthday, I don't know. Okay. Mark at 11 says, I'm not going to cause pain and suffering to animals just because other people like my parents and friends do. They let me do what I'm doing because I don't give them a choice. And I think deep inside they know I'm right, but they just don't want to change themselves. Powerful. A couple more of these and then we're going to shift gears. Being a veg kid, dealing with friends. How do you deal with friends who maybe being raised differently, who have different values, haven't yet reached this level of consciousness? Hero at 14 says, I make being vegan cool, and my friends ask to try my food and really like it. They also like how fit I am and try to be like me. I lead the way right. How you act and represent makes a big difference. Powerful words. Ashley at 13 says, most kids don't get it, but even friends who don't get it, if they're real friends, at least support me for it. And that is, I think, really great wisdom there. Even if a friend disagrees with you, they're not going to try and change what you're doing if they are a real friend and respect you as the human being that you are. David at 12 says, bring lots of extra good vegan food where you go. Then you can share how good really good vegan foods are, and that can help others like it and go vegan, so bring lots to share. And that is a powerful message that I use again and again, and I'm going to talk more about that soon. Always be prepared. Some of these kids here have been with me. Do I have enough food wherever we are?
Yes.
Enough to feed a small country?
Yes.
Yeah. I always have loads of food, and I'm always happy to share. Where was I? Solomon at 4.5. I teach the kids that are not being vegan to be vegan. Being veg, by the way, going to camp. This is not a camp commercial, but I do run the only totally vegan camp programs for kids in the country for the last 20 plus years. Vegancamp.org is that website. VegKids.org does link to that. And we have kids that come from other countries, come from across the country, etc. Because I've had a lot of experiences in seeing kids going to other camps where they give them vegan food, maybe, and it's very, very limiting what they actually provide. And let's hear from some of these kids about camp experiences, something to consider. Ben at 14 said, my old camp had vegan food. White pasta, water lettuce, canned beans, potato chips, and other unhealthy choices like that. At Camp Exploration, I eat the best I do all year. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, I know you eat well. Olivia at age 13 said, before I found Camp Exploration, I went to a camp that tried to make me eat chicken, saying it was the vegetarian meal. And seriously, she left camp midstream. She had to sneak into the office to call her parents, because a lot of camps don't let you call home. I believe you should be able to call home. You don't need to force a separation between parent and child. You can call home and check in. Okay? And she had to sneak into the office to call her father, and he came and picked her up from camp because they were trying to force her, telling her, we made this chicken especially for you. That's the vegetarian meal. And it was not like Gardein chicken. We're talking it was a dead chicken. Danny at 11 says, I wish I could live at vegan camp now. And Noah at 9 said, at the vegan camp I went to this summer, it was nice for once to be able to eat the food that they had there. Being veg, getting support. Chelsea at 14 says, going to events with other veg kids has helped me feel the support I need. And that's why Veg Kids exists, in order so that kids don't feel so alone. And we can connect them with each other and help them realize that they're not the only one whose crazy parents are raising them that way, or not the only ones who are raising themselves that way, whatever the case might be. It's nice to know you have support. Even as adults, think about it. Those of us who don't even have kids or whatever. Isn't it nice to know that there are other people who share your values? Okay? Danny at 11 says, I don't know any other veg kids at school, but I stand strong. Connecting on Facebook with other veg kids does help. I will mention, yes, this was a quote at 11. Yes, he's actually had a Facebook account, I think, since he was 8 or 9, and Facebook's law says you need to be 13. What I will tell you is that he is an incredibly responsible kid. I monitor and check in on his Facebook. His parents aren't on Facebook. I monitor and check in on his Facebook and make sure he does nothing wrong on there. In fact, he was the one who created the Veg Kids group on Facebook. So kids who are on Facebook, parents, you're welcome to join the Veg Kids Facebook group as well, but leave it as a forum for kids to communicate with each other. Mostly, and I know mostly they're just posting, like quotes and pictures and things like that. They don't even really dialogue very much. But it's a great little group. Veg Kids has a Facebook presence, and that helps him know that he's not alone because he doesn't have veg kids very close to him often. Here's the potential struggles of being a veg kid. And it doesn't matter whether your parents are raising you this way or you're raising yourself this way. These are kind of a summary of the struggles. There can be struggles at home, and I'm going to elaborate on all these in a moment. There can be struggles at family functions, especially when you have extended family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever, who don't yet see the light. At school lunch, at school events, at clubs and teams, at church, synagogue, mosque, whatever, at carnivals, amusement parks, at movies, malls, food courts, at camp and on school trips, at meals at friends' houses, at overnights at friends' houses, at friends' birthday parties. I'm going to elaborate on it, but this is what I would consider the summary in talking to kids and working with kids of where do the struggles exist. We're not just going to leave you with where the struggles exist. We're going to talk about how to make those struggles less of a struggle. For starters, where do you keep snacks? Always with you everywhere is the bottom line. If you're in a school where they allow you to have snacks in your desk, kids, it's helpful to keep snacks in your desk if your school allows it. Maybe in a locker if you're at a school where you have lockers. Most kids, it's the backpack. Always have, whether it be a Cliff Bar, or whether it be some Mary's Gone crackers, or whatever it is, always have snacks. Never allow yourself to feel like you're going to have to go hungry. Okay? Always have good nutritious snacks, and I've got a bunch of snack props here, which again, go to the kids who listen really well, and all of you deserve them so far. At the end of the presentation, you're all going to get goodies. Okay? In your sports bag, if you play soccer or baseball or whatever you play, in your bag where you keep your cleats and other gear, keep some sealed snacks in there. Always be prepared. Teacher's closet. Don't just go into the teacher's closet without permission. But one of the things that I recommend, by the way, at the beginning of a school year, parents, is go to meet with the teacher when you're not in the midst of the start of school and the teacher's going crazy with all the parents wanting this and that. Like when the teacher's in the room the week before setting up the classroom, etc. It's a wonderful thing to contact the teacher. Usually most teachers prefer email, but call, email, whatever works best. And say, can I just come in for about 5 minutes? I wanted to, to meet you and to bring you something. Leave it that way. Teachers like it when you bring them things. Okay? And you could bring a nice flip plant or something for the classroom, whatever. But what I'm talking about is bring a big basket, box, barrel, whatever, of whatever vegan snack you know your kid would enjoy if and when teachers are giving out snacks to kids. Okay, and a lot of times teachers give out snacks to kids, and I'm not a big fan of teachers using food as rewards at all. That's a whole nother subject. But nonetheless, because teachers do it, don't leave your child in the position to be the one kid who's not getting something, or to have to feel the ethical struggle about, do I eat what the teacher's getting me because I want something and everybody else is eating it, or do I eat nothing? I mean, it's a struggle, so instead be prepared. And bring in, as an example, a bunch of the individually sealed Mary's Gone crackers cookies or something. Are these good?
Yeah.
Okay, if you haven't had them, I'll let every one of you kids try one in a little bit. Okay? But, bring things in and bring more than enough. Teachers appreciate it when you're not going to cause them any extra work and cause them any extra expense. That's what teachers are more worried about. So if you bring in something and say, and by the way, you're welcome to help yourself if you would like. Helps the teacher learn how good it can be. But also, say if there's any other kids with food allergies or whatever the case might be, if it's okay with their parents, you're welcome to give it. I think it's worth spending a few extra bucks and be willing to invest in that and the good that you're putting out into the world. So teacher's closet is a great place to always keep things because teachers do. Or maybe one parent happens to be bringing in a treat for the whole class and you didn't even know it was going to happen, so you couldn't have brought something in advance. But the teacher is already prepared for your child. It takes a big stress level, a burden off of the shoulders of the teacher. Because again, most teachers are not against your child getting something. The problem is they don't want to be burdened with something extra to worry about, and they certainly don't want to have an extra expense or anything like that. So you make it easy on them and they become a friend. Okay? Teacher's closet. Similarly, the school office. By the way, we know in schools, it's the front desk secretary who really runs the school, right? Okay? And it's good for that person to always have some things as well in a closet or a cupboard up there because you never know when your child might need something as well. And it's always good to make friends. That's a separate subject with the front desk secretary of the school. Always good to be an ally. Extracurriculars, religious school, dojo, whatever kinds of things your child does in the after-school hours, you want to leave some with whoever's in charge of that facility as well. In the car. Some of us, now remember, I'm from Los Angeles and we practically live in our cars, okay? It's good to always have food in the car. You never know when you're stuck in traffic and the kid's going to be hungry. Always have stuff in the car. Things that have a good shelf life, okay? In your home kitchen, that's kind of an obvious. In close relatives' kitchens, if you are going to send your child to a family member's house, to grandma and grandpa's or aunts and uncles or whoever, don't expect them, again, just like with the teacher, to have to go out of their way and buy extra things and do something different than they normally would do, because they may not do that, but you be prepared and you always have food in the homes that you know your child is at often. Do that, whether it be the close relatives' kitchen or close friends' kitchen. And that could be your own close friends, maybe people who are on your emergency list who might pick up your child from school or whatever. It's good to have it in their kitchens. It could also be if your child is very good friends with another child, and maybe that child and those parents are not on the same page as you, you can nicely say, hey, is it all right if I, give you this to kind of keep in your kitchen for when, Johnny's over at your house, just so you know there's always something there. Again, you're making life easier on someone. Here are some easy snacks to consider. I do not work for any of these companies. I am not being paid by any of these companies. I'm just sharing some examples. Okay? First of all, ideal is like little Ziploc or Tupperware sealed containers of things that have a shelf life. Like you can make your own trail mix, or nuts and seeds, or dried fruits, or dried lentils and legumes. Those kinds of things are nice staples just to always have on hand. Bars, they have their place. I think we shouldn't be living on them. But Cliff Bars are an example. I know that they're always cheap at Trader Joe's and they're really easily accessible. Macro Life bars are probably, as far as I'm concerned, some of the healthiest of bars. If you know those, I don't know if they sell what they have up here or what they don't. They're just fruits and nuts and there's really nothing else to them and they're incredibly nutritious, and eating one of those is healthier than 99% of America eats as a meal anyway. So it's good to have some of those easily accessible. Boulder bars and Builder bars. These are just some examples. I'm not promoting one company over another, but those are the kinds of things you want to keep in your kid's sports bag, etc. Other sealed snacks like fruit leather, and I don't mean the stuff that I would call plastic, that artificially colored, artificially flavored, processed sugar, literally looks like plastic, okay? I'm talking about natural, healthy fruit leathers, okay? Jerky, okay? And whether you make your own jerky or you buy different jerkies, like as an example, I've got a couple of these here and I'll go through all of these later. This is a shiitake mushroom-based jerky made by Primal Strips. Some of you may know them. And again, I'm just using it as an example. This is also Primal Strips. This is one of their soy jerkies. It's a hickory smoked flavor, whatever. These kinds of things, kids often love jerky, and so there are some examples of things that we could easily have with us. Seaweed. Who likes to eat seaweed? Okay. I know some of these guys, I don't even want to count how many seaweed packets we may have gone through together. Okay? Mary's got crackers, whether it be her crackers, whether it be her cookies, and those are some of the best foods for allergy issues. Kids who have allergy issues beyond being vegan, some vegan kids might have allergy issues, some may be being vegan just because it's the ethical conscious choice that they're making. But like I'm saying, if you provide a school teacher with a bunch of stuff in a closet, aim for something that's allergy free, and then other kids might be benefiting from it, and you might help them along the way as well. Sharkies, who knows Sharkies? You do, excellent. Sharkies, by the way, are vegan gummies, and they happen to be probably one of the most popular snacks of most kids that I know. I'm not saying this is a health food. Some of these things, like a Macro Life bar, you can have instead of a meal. This is a treat, and it needs to be recognized. It is just a treat, even if some of us would like to live on them. Okay, they're in the shape of sharks. That's why they're called Sharkies. It's the only time in your life, hopefully, you're going to bite the head off of a shark, right? Okay. St. Clair's tarts. And they have all sorts of flavors. Again, it's just a treat. They're wonderful little sucking tarts. The idea is you take one and eat it and suck on it. You don't pour the whole pouch in your mouth at once, as some kids have a tendency to do. No one in this room, I'm sure. Okay, and they're organic, but they're still, you know, it's a treat. Okay, there's all sorts of. Those are just some examples. I'm just sharing examples. You have to figure out what works for your kid. The bottom line is, as a parent, you need to know your child. And as a parent, you need to know what your child likes and doesn't like. And it doesn't mean that your child gets everything he wants all the time he wants it, right? But you need to know. Don't force your child. If your child doesn't like X, think about Y, Z, P, D, Q, A, B, C, all the other options of things. Find things your child likes that are healthy and nutritious and enjoyable, but at the same time, not everybody's going to like all the same things, and that's okay. Now, I'm going to jump from some of that into some other pieces that you'll see how it fits together. This is kind of a separate presentation. The other leads into this. Okay, I'm skipping over some slides because I know where I am with time, and I'm going to talk about curriculum. Some of you who are teachers are going to hopefully especially appreciate this, but parents, you can help teachers again, not just for providing them snacks. If you can provide your child's teacher with free curriculum, it saves them money, saves them effort, and here's an example. There are so many nutrition curricula out there. Many of them, I would say, are rather non-nutritious. Okay, they're rather a contradiction in terms. There are various food pyramids, there are various food boxes and rectangles and squares and circular plates and all of these various items. There's so many different types of curricula out there, and I'd say every one of them that I've seen, I have issues with. Even some of the vegan ones, they're really not as educational and helpful as I think they could be. This is my favorite. This is put out by PCRM, the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, based in Washington, D.C. If you're not familiar with them, their website is pcrm.org. Okay, very easy to remember, pcrm.org. This is what they call the food rainbow, okay? And it looks at the colors of the foods. And by the way, we should all eat different colored foods. Not artificially colored foods, but how nature grew them. And our plate, maybe not at every meal. We're not going to have a rainbow at every meal probably, although the Salad Master folks inside were making some beautifully multicolored salads. It was gorgeous. But in our diets, we should have all of these colors at different times. And so, as an example, a red food like tomatoes and tomato products and watermelon and guava, which I have inside. It has lycopene, which is an antioxidant. It cuts prostate cancer risk, etc. It talks about the health benefits of each color, and if you have the variety of colors, you're gaining benefits to your health. So this is just an example, and you can get these from PCRM, and you provide a stack of them to the teacher. Hopefully they will use it. It's really wonderful. Similarly, these are a couple of guides that are put out by PCRM. And parents, I encourage you to get copies of this. I have a handful I can give some parents, but I don't have enough for everybody. I didn't come up here with stacks and boxes of everything. But this is nutrition for kids. And it's geared towards parents on how to raise healthy kids. But teachers, I've gotten teachers in schools, again, to use these. These are really wonderful. This is the old version. This is the new version. I will just share. I like the old version better, but they don't print this one anymore. I object to the anthropomorphization, that's meaning like taking something that's not human and making it look human-like, of fruits and vegetables. It seems cute and fun, but it contradicts the message I think we're trying to teach kids. We're trying to teach kids we don't want to eat things with a face. We're trying to teach kids that animals are to be loved and cared for, and fruits and vegetables are to be eaten. Okay, they are the fuel. And when we take fruits and vegetables and we try to make them look like animals, I think it works against our message. I've talked to PCRM when they go through the major quantities they've already printed up of these, then they're rethinking going back to something like this, which I think is a better version. The information's the same, but that's just my little diatribe there, so to speak. Okay. Now, holidays, and it could be curriculum at school, it could be holidays at home. One of my favorite celebrations of the year is called the Festival of the Three Sisters. It's a Native American holiday. It's existed long before the Pilgrims ever landed on this land. In fact, when the Pilgrims landed on this land, what did they do? They created something that they eventually called Thanksgiving, but what was it based on? They tapped into the native tribes, like the Pequannock tribe in the northeast of the United States, has celebrated this holiday for ages. It was a harvest holiday. They were celebrating what they called the Three Sisters, the foods that would sustain them through the long, cold winters when they couldn't pull stuff from the earth. Okay? And in the cold winters, I know we may not have them here or in LA, but we can still get the idea. What foods sustain them through the long cold winters? Corn, beans, and squash. Those were the three sisters. If you were to take a squash and you just put it on your counter in the kitchen or on the ground in your teepee, as the case might have been, and let it sit there for weeks and weeks and weeks, it's not going to go bad. It lasts for a long time. As opposed to many of the other foods that they were consuming during summer months and other months, you leave it on the floor of your teepee or on the counter in your kitchen, it's going to go moldy and bad in a couple of weeks, if not sooner. Therefore, these are what they consider the three sisters that sustain them through the long cold winter. I've gotten a lot of schools to turn this into a lesson and shift away from these pilgrim stories and all of these other issues and go back to the origins of where all of this came from. In LA, we have an annual celebration, the Festival of Three Sisters. If any of you want to come to LA and join us for any events, feel free. We always have great events. On Thanksgiving, we have hundreds of people who will be getting together for our big vegan Thanksgiving potluck picnic, hundreds of people, and we'll celebrate the Festival of the Three Sisters. It doesn't mean we're only eating corned beans and squash, though. Okay. And I'm not going to get into every little one of these, but these are just other curriculum things. I'm giving you a teaser of a lot of bits of information. As an example, a lot of schools, they do dissection, okay? Dissection, when I was a kid, I objected to. As an adult, I know even more, and I object to it even further. In fact, when I was in 7th grade was the year that dissection was a major part of the curriculum. And I went to my teacher, and I said to her, I don't believe in doing this. I really want some option. And she was really nice about it, because this was before the law dictated that you had to have options. Most states, California being one of them, legally require teachers to give their students an option. Okay, not all states, like Colorado's a little backwards with that. When my niece was in Colorado going through this, I had to share loads of information and push a teacher to give her an option. But in California, every child is legally required to be given an option. Nobody can be required to dissect. Okay? But there are programs like Digital Frog, as an example, that are actually better learning devices. They're certainly more humane and they're easier to learn from. This is just a lesson I do with kids. And we take soap bubbles, by the way, and we blow these giant soap bubbles. And if you can imagine this giant soap bubble in your hands, okay? And it teaches you about the fragility of life and of the earth and all of that, trying to keep this thing together with, you know, the gentleness of your hair and your touch. But there's all sorts of great lessons that we can add curriculum to science. Literature. Carefully choose books that have good messages for your children sometimes that could really make a difference. And you may or may not know some of these books. That's not the point. I'm just throwing some samples out there. But, you know, even something as, who remembers way back when reading Upton Sinclair's The Jungle? It's a powerful one for especially you maybe heading into high school and whatnot. It is a powerful read. It's amazing that after many of us reading this many years ago, more people did not choose to go vegan and made the connection. It's about the slaughterhouses and all of that, and it's an age-old classic. Writing, and I'm not going to read all of this because I'm just trying to cut through and share a little bit of a lot of things with you, but these are a couple of, as an example of writing prompts, and I'll use this one as an example, and others I will get to maybe, you know, scroll through. This is a quote from George Orwell's Animal Farm, okay? Man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk, he does not lay eggs, he is too weak to pull the plow, he cannot run fast enough to catch rabbits, yet he is lord of all the animals. That's a George Orwell quote, and this is what I would give students as a writing prompt. To what extent should humans be allowed to use other animals for meat and scientific research? This could be a great writing prompt. You know, that may be a little too direct for some teachers, but the point is we can create writing prompts. We can create literary choices. If you are able to volunteer in your child's school, you can play a role. If you're going to make your child's teacher's job easier and you're creating materials for them to use, they may or may not use it, but it's worth trying. I'll get to some other things. Here's a much longer prompt. I'm going to move past that for now, and another one. Even math. Who would have thought math, we could get some really good positive messages in here. Look at the pie chart, right? Okay? Here's a great pie chart about pie chart of pollution causes. That tiny little pink section is the pollution caused by grain production. This blue section is of consumer air travel. Cars are this nice big yellow chunk, and most people are being more conscious of what they drive. My vegetable oil-powered car is out front. Okay? Household energy is even more of an impact than the cars, and my house is solar-powered. Okay? But meat production, what we eat, produces more pollutants to the environment than any of these other causes. And there's a nice little pie chart that should be in every one of our math books. Here's a nice word problem. If there are 84 dogs at the pound, and 6 of them are adopted over the weekend, then what percentage still need to be adopted? Even things like that. Teachers struggle to create math worksheets and whatnot, and you can throw little bits of messages in here and there if you're able to volunteer in your child's classroom and help them create some things. So curriculum, I've talked about all of those areas that we could actually impact our children's upbringing and education. And if you're a homeschool parent, it makes it a lot easier. But if your child is in school, see what you can do about helping them have a little easier job as a teacher, and you help create some materials for them. What about at school? Eating at school. Some schools may have a salad bar, and that's probably the best that some schools have. Okay? I'm a big advocate of have your child make their own lunch. You make the lunch with your child. Send your child with something you know they will eat, that they will enjoy, and that will provide them the nourishment that they need. And do it so that it looks really, really good, and every other child is jealous of the wonderful lunch that your child brings to school. Like I used the example of Hero, who not only makes enough for himself, but he brings enough to share with dozens and dozens of other kids. Okay? Whoops. Look, there we go. Camp, here's some kids eating some good healthy camp foods. Yes, we're roasting vegan marshmallows by the campfire. Okay, we've got a falafel bar here. We're making some veggie kebabs and whatnot here. Kids love rolling their own sushi, all sorts of great stuff. These are just some of our camp foods, but the point is wherever you are, at camp or at school or wherever, we want our children to have foods that they enjoy, and then it makes life a lot easier and it's not a difficult decision. Sports. It's disturbing to see some of the things that some kids are being given by coaches and parents. Parents, if you have kids who are on teams and you take turns maybe as parents, like it's your week to bring the snacks, some of you know what I'm talking about, and some of the parents, you just look at what they're bringing these kids, the artificially colored, artificially flavored, processed sugar junk, okay? But very refreshing, after a practice or a game, orange slices. This is not rocket science. Even sunflower seeds, okay? These are old classics, and make sure you send your child in their sports bag with a lot of goodies, and send more than your child will eat so that they can share. And when it's your turn to feed all the kids on the team, make sure that you do so in such a way that every other parent now has to live up to your standards, because the kids love what you bring that much more. Make it tempting and tantalizing. Even at home, rolling sushi in the kitchen here, picking berries, and yes, we have a whole thing of Sharkies there. Okay. Now, at others' homes, first of all, I don't know, you probably have businesses up here that make these beautiful fruit baskets. You don't need to hire a business to do it. You can make it yourself. But one of the things that my mother taught me when I was a little child, my mom taught me a lot of good lessons. One of the lessons she taught me is you never go to somebody else's home empty-handed. I don't know if any of you were raised with that or you're raising your children with those same wonderful values, but my mom taught me you never go to somebody else's house empty-handed. So if I was going to, even whether it was, a grandparent's house or an aunt or uncle's house or a friend's house or a neighbor's house, I always was bringing something. Now my mom, for her, it was always bringing a box of chocolates, okay? And it could be vegan chocolates, they could be Jacques or something like that. But even better, my feeling is, send some nice dried fruit and nut platter, send a fruit basket, something like that. And there's three reasons really. One is it's good manners to bring something. Two, maybe you'll get them to realize how good natural foods can be. And number three, if your child is at somebody's house and you're not so sure they're going to have something there that the family has that they're going to want to eat, then now your child has something to eat and you happen to send it without saying, I'm bringing food because you have garbage in your house. Okay? It's a nice hospitality gift. Whoops. Even going to restaurants. This is my dear friend Rahel. She owns the Vegan Ethiopian restaurant down in Los Angeles. It's a 100% vegan Ethiopian restaurant. I don't know if anybody was here yesterday and had Ethiopian food that was out of the courtyard yesterday. I don't know why they're not here today. But I love Ethiopian food. But whether you're going to a restaurant and wherever you are, you can get a baked potato, with some steamed veggies at almost any restaurant, even if you're not going to a vegan restaurant. But make sure there's always good options. I'm going to keep chugging along. Notice these books, but I'm not talking about literature at school. Your child should be reading. Every child should read, if not every night, almost every night, just for the joy of reading. And let's choose some good books for the joy of reading. Movies. Some of you may raise your children and allow them to watch movies and television, and some of you may not. And I totally respect parents who are not allowing their children to watch movies and television. That's okay. That's great. But for those who do, be selective. Don't just let them watch anything that's on the tube. Okay? And these are examples of movies that have some really good messages, and especially if your child has friends over and you're going to let them watch a movie, pick a movie that might have some really good conscious message that the kids might be able to even discuss. Television. Who remembers this episode? Lisa Simpson goes vegetarian. Yay! Okay. That was a long time ago, and it occurs off and on throughout the series. And I'm not promoting The Simpsons and saying your children need to be watching The Simpsons at all. I'm not promoting that. But if you're going to watch TV, maybe something that's worthy of watching in some ways. And I will tell you, one of the founders, creators of The Simpsons, his daughter was a student of mine many years ago. Her name was Maggie. The character Maggie is named after her. And Maggie was vegan, whereas her parents weren't in real life. And that's where some of the influence of the Lisa Simpson character came in, because Maggie doesn't talk, so they had to give that to Lisa. But Lisa was designed to be the moral voice of America, and when they created the show, they expected Lisa to be the heroine that everybody wanted to be. And they had no expectation that everybody was going to be worshiping and idolizing the utter fool American idiot Bart. Okay, that was not their expectation. They were really surprised, and shouldn't have been, I guess, by the average American. And remember this show? One of my favorite shows in all of time. What is it?
The dinosaurs.
Oh, Lee. That's awesome. Liam, that is awesome that you know that. Robbie is kind of the Lisa Simpson of this show, and he goes vegetarian. And every episode, they're dealing with an ethical dilemma, like how do they treat the elderly? They used to, in their crimes, they would throw them off of cliffs, to get rid of them, and so he objects to that. Or The Howling, which was kind of like a coming-of-age thing. The episodes of this, and I have the box DVD set, but the Dinosaur Show is a brilliant show, and it's filled with messages. Who's she? Come on, adults, we know this, no?
From the Wonder Years?
From Friends, Phoebe Buffay, who is a vegetarian character on a TV show. Animal Planet, even better than the rest of these. But if we're going to allow children to watch television, let's be conscious of messages. Yeah?
What's her name again?
Phoebe Buffay, I think was her name.
Phoebe Buffay?
I think so. Phoebe was her first name. Definitely was her first name. I'm not a TV expert, and that's not my point. Now here, what about getting kids involved in positive extracurricular activities? Going to an orange grove and picking oranges, going to an apple orchard and picking apples, going hiking and climbing, okay? Going to an animal sanctuary and appreciating our loved dear four-legged friends, etc., and winged friends and all of that. These are all great images of things we can do that provide our kids positive, wholesome weekend activities, whether you do it on your own or if you were ever in LA, come join us for some of our Weekend Veg Kids events. Role models. Not that I believe kids should ever be looking up to celebrities. When I was a little kid, and I was in 4th grade, and Mrs. McFadden, my teacher, gave us an assignment to write about your hero. And my essay she sent back to me, and she says, you didn't answer the question, please do it again. And I said, I answered the question, just not maybe the way you wanted me to. Okay? And she wanted us to pick somebody who really was our hero. And my essay was, I don't need to look to somebody else to be a hero. I can be the hero that I wish the world were filled with, and I can just lead the way that I think we all need to go. I don't need to look to somebody else. Okay? But nonetheless, who is this guy? Morrissey, when he came to LA to perform at the Staples Center, he refused to perform at the Staples Center unless they would shut down all the meat stands while he was performing there. Now there's a hero if we're going to have a music star of a hero. Who's this guy? No sports enthusiasts in the room. Tony Gonzalez, I think is his name. He's a professional football player who's vegan and gung-ho and all of that kind of thing. What do I know from sports either? But yeah.
Who was the one on the top again?
Morrissey. Rock star, Morrissey. M-O-R-I-S-S-E-Y, I think. Okay? And down here, how about just trying to find good adult role models, whether it be a teacher or other parents or aunts and uncles, good adult role models for kids to look up to who have positive values the same way you're trying to raise your kids. And then, we just need to touch children's hearts. I have never met a child who doesn't have a wonderful, caring heart deep inside of them. And the reason that I started the Kids Make a Difference Foundation, of which the Veg Kids organization is a part of it, is because I deeply believe in raising a more conscious generation of kids, and we need to provide opportunities to nurture the wonderful hearts that are inside of kids instead of suppressing them and stagnating them, as is often happening in our society. So, whether you're on your own and you're making a heart by yourself, come on kids, who can make a heart? There you go. Now, see if maybe the person next to you can even make a heart together, okay? And later you can try this outside and see how many of you can make a bigger heart. The more we come together, the bigger hearts we can make, but it doesn't mean you can't make a beautiful heart when you're on your own as well. This is, by the way, just some other great images of kids with some of the programs we do every January or February down in LA. We go on a whale watching cruise. Look at the whales that we've had a chance to see. Isn't this awesome? Appreciating nature, out in nature. Kids are listening, parents. And sometimes they're listening when you think they're not listening. When you're trying to talk to somebody else, that's when they're listening the most. They hear more of what you say when you're not talking to them than they do when you're actually talking to them. Keep in mind, parents, whatever you say, they're listening. They're watching what you do. Walk your talk. Live the example that you believe in living. I'll give you a quick example. A child whose name I will not use right now, but he's been struggling with an issue. Because his mom always tells him, don't lie, don't lie, don't lie. And then sometimes her phone will ring and she'll see who it is and she'll say, will you pick it up and tell him I'm not here? Okay, that's a little bit of hypocrisy, my friends. Parents, raise your children. Be the kind of adult you want your child to become, right? Raise your children consciously with what you say, with what you do that they see. They're thinking, they're feeling. Let's help them use their hearts. Let's help them use their minds. More great images of kids with our wonderful four-legged friends and two-legged friends and winged friends and all sorts of other friends. Some of you know some of these. You know him. Yeah. Okay. I know you have, what's the name of the animal sanctuary that's got a couple of branches up here? Animal. Oh, maybe the farm sanctuary. There's another one here that has a booth here too. Animal place, I think. Yeah. Anyway, when they have opportunities, visit and bring the caring out of your kids. And you know what? You can even do birthday parties in a place like that. Okay? And then get non-vegan kids, other families' kids, to come and hug a chicken, hug a pig, hug a cow, etc. Other opportunities, talking to friends. Birthday party plans, like I just said. Make it a party where maybe there's a little consciousness that can come out of it. Sharing foods, creating clubs. You know, maybe your child's school might allow a certain kind of a club that you can help them create. Helping table and leafleting, as I know some of you have done. These, by the way, are images. We had a Veggie Pride Parade in LA, and I was dressed up. I don't know how well you can see the image there. I was dressed up as a hot dog salesman, and my dog here, Canine, he was wearing a bun with ketchup on his back and trying to make it very clear that do you really want to eat hot dogs? Maybe not that kind of dog, but an animal's an animal. What's the difference between a pig or a cow or a dog or whatever? Okay? Anyway, so here we are. This sign is out at our booth there. We do a lot of food samplings. I bring in some chefs and have them do lessons at some of the schools that I work with. Every year for the Great American Meat Out in March, I always get a bunch of opportunities. I have schools. I don't approach the Great American Meat Out at the schools that I consult to as a meat out program, even though that's what it is. I just do every spring what I call a Raising Healthy Kids program, and I avoid the meat out or the veg words, and we just really help educate kids on how to eat better, how to live better, and free samples, coordinating free samples, getting kids to eat and enjoy good foods. There I am lecturing at one of those. We did a blood pressure block party on the 3rd Street Promenade. We had some doctors who volunteered their time to do free blood pressure screenings, and we had one of the restaurants, Native Foods, Tanya Kotovna, ended up donating food so that the kids were helping sample out food and helping people realize how good, healthier food can be, how they can be healthier, and it was just a free blood pressure screening and talking about the health benefits and all of that. We had a little tofu festival. Thank you to Uncle Kevin at Lloyd. Okay? Let's see. Environmental cleanups. Just getting out and enjoying nature. Essay contests. Maybe you could start up here. I do every year, and kids from up here are welcome to participate every spring. I do an essay contest. You know, it's a real conscious, probing topic, and get kids to get thinking and writing essays to kind of get their minds going. So, service opportunities, I've talked about all of these kinds of things. The power of the pen also, by the way, every Martin Luther King Day weekend, on Martin Luther King Day, we have our Power of the Pen event down in LA, where we get kids together, and each kid is required to pick something in the world that bothers them. And I ask them, what is it that bothers you? Why does it bother you? And what do you want to see done about it? And inspire them to learn about their topic of interest. And we have them write letters, and we send these letters to businesses and politicians and wait for them to get responses. And it's an incredible activity. A lot of these things can be done anywhere. We got to take care of the earth. We want to get our kids off on the right foot, get them off on a right start. Cultivating caring hearts, empowering kids to make a difference. Raising veg kids is just one piece to that puzzle. I want to give a big thank you to each and every one of you and your parents or other adults who are involved in the lives of children who are trying to help them grow up more consciously than the average American. So I want to give you a pat on the back. Kids, if you're next to an adult, you can give them a pat on the back for me. Okay? And parents and adults who are here with kids, would you please give a pat on the back to every one of the kids in here who you're close to, who, A, listened to this really well, B, hopefully learned a little bit, C, may have some questions that I can only take a couple of questions right now, and then I'll take plenty of more questions at the booth outside, at the Veg Kids booth, once I reset up out there. I want to answer every and any question you might have, just can't answer them all right now. But before I'm going to have to get out and somebody else is going to have to come in and set up the presentation, let me just take maybe about 3 questions, and I've got some free samples and goodies to give out. And let's see. Real quickly. There we go. Kids make a difference. You have a question? Okay, you can make one up. Yes? Well, first of all, if you're allergic to any food, then you should stay away from that food, and you know that, right? And there are so many options in the plant food kingdom that no matter what your allergy is, there are options of other things you can eat instead. The biggest concern, of course, is if you are so sensitive to the point where you could go into anaphylactic shock and end up being in a hospital if somebody's exposing you to it, then you not only have to be careful of what you're eating and doing, but you have to be careful about what the environment is around you. And some schools might have an allergy-free table, some schools might make an allergy-free classroom, some schools do none of the above. There's a little boy I know in LA, I won't use his name, I don't have the permission from him or his parents right now, but he is allergic to many different foods, and his school refuses to do anything about it, even though legally they're required, but the parents refuse to take the steps to push, which they might have to do. And so he has to go and sit and have lunch with the receptionist at the front desk in the office every single day, and never gets to eat with his friends. And I've talked to his parents, but they don't want to make waves. And I can't do anything about that if they're not willing to do something about that. But you need to know your own sensitivities and what you're allergic to, and stay away from those foods. But that's the thing, like as an example, I'll use myself. I am, believe it or not, allergic to kale. Kale is like one of the biggest buzz things in the vegan health food industry, okay? All hail kale. I have friends that live by kale. I eat kale, I start getting an upset stomach and I start getting rashes. Okay, so I don't eat kale. I know that I don't eat kale, and therefore I don't eat kale. But you know what? I eat a lot of mustard greens. I'm not allergic to mustard greens, and I love mustard greens. Okay, so we got to know our own bodies. I will tell you, I've met over the years many people who claim to be, they were vegan once, and they say, but it didn't work for me. I had problems with this or that. And my answer to them is, well, I'm sorry to hear that. It just means you didn't have the right vegan diet for you. But there is a vegan diet that works for everyone. It's just not the same one that works for everyone. And that's the key. You don't eat the peanuts. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah.
Always trying to get my friends to go vegan, but they just, I even let them have some of my vegan meats, and I just don't know how to do it.
Well, we could have a longer conversation on that, but I'm very proud of you. And we're going to talk more. Maybe you'll come back to the booth a little bit. But the nutshell is, I don't believe, and I'm not saying there are others who believe differently, in being one of those in-your-face vegans trying to push people, because I think sometimes you push people more away than you do draw them into you. But at the same time, having extra food, saying, hey, you want to try this? And if they say no, then no. And if they say, oh yeah, you like that? And if they say no, then try something else the next time. Okay? Just little bit of subtle, you can get to kids very much through their taste buds. So you got to find the right things, and I'm super proud of you. And yeah, always bring loads of extra food. And then we can also talk about information about things. You know, maybe you have friends over and you watch a certain movie together. Or maybe you happen to have some friends go with you to the animal sanctuary. You don't talk too much about it, but once they're hugging a chicken or whatever, and then later you're driving on the way home and you pass Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you say, you know that little guy we were hugging at the sanctuary? Good thing he's not there, huh? Okay, very subtle little bits here and there, but I'm super proud of you. You're awesome, dude. Okay, one more question, and then I'm going to start packing it up. Anybody? Can't tell me I've answered all your questions. Come to the booth, please, and ask me plenty of more questions. Yes?
Birthdays at school.
And different schools have different policies for birthdays, and there's two issues to that. One is when it's your child's birthday. The other is when your child's in a class and it's some other kid's birthday. Okay? When it's your child's birthday, obviously, you can make or bring or whatever, vegan cupcakes or whatever it is that you think you want to do, that every kid will enjoy and blow them away that these happen to be vegan without pushing it on them. So when it's your child's birthday, it's easy. When it's another child's birthday, you have the choice, whether you've left the teacher with a bunch of snacks in the classroom, like I mentioned, so that your child has something, or if you want to, make sure you bring something special. If you know a parent's bringing in cupcakes, then you could at least bring in a cupcake for your child. Another thing along with that is when your child's going to a friend's house or going to a friend's birthday party, okay? What I've always believed in doing when I was raising kids is asking, a parent, saying, Scotty's coming over for, so-and-so's birthday. I just wanted to check in. I'm not asking you to do anything different from what you're doing, but can you tell me what you're going to be providing the kids? And they'll tell you, oh, we're having pizza and cupcakes and ice cream. Say, would you mind if I just brought some special versions of that so that, Scotty can have it? If anybody else has any different dietary issues, they'd be welcome to have some as well. You're not burdening somebody with extra work. You're not burdening them with extra expense. Just do that little bit of extra work, and not only does it help your child, but it actually, oftentimes, other kids get jealous of the special treatment and all that, and they want some of that too.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say that my two kids attended Andy's vegan camp this summer, and they had a fabulous time. Highly recommend it, and they're going back next summer.
Is this a
Just want to put a plug in.
different camp?
Yeah, it's the same.
The camps that I read she's talking about, we met last summer with her. They live up here. The camps are based in LA. They came down the coast. We have kids from come across the country and other countries sometimes. And so I appreciate that little word. You guys want to say anything, either of you?
Okay.
Okay, well, I know with my mom, really great experience. I highly recommend it if you're craving vegan think about going vegan or not vegan, just really great. You know, I meet really nice people, amazing food. It's a really nice experience. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. AJ, you get the last word, AJ.
Well, you'll
Turn to them.
he always has enough food, and nobody gets hungry, and the food is like the best.
And he said it was the best week of his life.
And what kind of activities?
Well, it's based on like what theme you're going to,
There's different camps, different programs, yeah.
and there's like hiking and amusement park one, and yeah,
You sleep there?
yeah, there's overnight camps and day camps.
Yeah, obviously, kids who live up here, it's going to be hard to do day camp in Southern California, but overnight camps, we have kids who come in, and we have had kids. We once had a kid who came in from the East Coast for day camp. Mom came out, she stayed in a hotel somewhere nearby, and she did mommy camp with spas and museums, and there's more than enough of that in LA. And while the kid was in camp during the day, and then she was able to pick him up at the end of the day, like every other kid got picked up. So we have day camps, but the overnight camps, and this coming summer we'll have 4 different overnight camp weeks. All right, I know they have another session that's going to be coming in here, so any kid who is here, feel free, first of all, come up, kids, and you all get some goodies. Feel free, you get to pick one thing from the table. Every kid can pick one thing from the table, and then you can have other stuff too. And parents, if you'd like to, I have a few of these nutrition guide booklets for parents if you'd like one of these. Kids, if you want to take, I only have one of each of these.